Good morning, my dear friend. The world is still half asleep, wrapped in a veil of silver light, and a soft hush rests upon everything. The air is cool, trembling with the promise of a new day. Somewhere a bird begins its first song. Somewhere else, a window opens to welcome the fragrance of dawn. This is the sacred threshold between night and morning, the quiet hour when the heart can finally hear again. You are not here by accident. You have been gently invited into this stillness. To breathe, to listen, and to let your soul remember that it is loved. Perhaps you woke today carrying something heavy, news that broke your peace, a silence that feels like loss, a fear that has followed you through sleepless nights. Maybe you have smiled for others while inside your spirit trembled. You have done your best to stay strong, yet strength has felt thin, almost transparent. There are moments when even faith seems like a candle in the wind, its flame small against the storm. And yet, look around you now. Even the smallest flame can reveal the shape of things in darkness. Even the faintest light of morning can turn shadows into contours of hope. There was once a woman who stood by her window every morning. Long before the sun appeared, she had lost her husband and most of her joy, and for months she could not pray. But one dawn, she whispered a single sentence, "If you still see me, show me something alive." She waited, and in that moment, a small flower she thought had died pushed through the soil by her step. It was not a miracle of grandeur. It was a quiet answer. From that day, she began to speak again, one small prayer at a time. Her pain did not vanish. It changed shape. It became the place where grace entered. Maybe you are standing in a similar hour, torn between endings and beginnings. The night has not entirely left, yet light is pressing through the edges. This, too, is the hour when heaven leans close. Every sunrise is a reminder that no darkness lasts forever. The earth itself preaches resurrection before our eyes. What was buried rises. What was cold begins to breathe warmth. What seemed over finds its next form. Prayer is how we join that rhythm. It is not the language of the perfect. It is the breath of the willing. It does not demand proof before belief. It builds trust in the unseen. When we pray, we do not inform God of our pain He already knows. We invite Him to transform the meaning of it. Prayer lifts what the mind cannot solve and places it where mercy can work. In prayer, despair finds dialogue, fear finds boundaries, and the human heart remembers its first design, to rest in love. So as morning unfolds, let your heart unclench. Lay down the armor you wore through the night. Let the silence of dawn wrap around you like a gentle shawl. You do not need eloquent words. You only need honesty. If your voice trembles, it is enough. If all you can do is whisper, heaven still hears. This is not the hour of performance, it is the hour of presence. Today, we begin not with answers, but with openness. Every heartbeat, every breath, every flicker of light through your window is an invitation to begin again. The same God who paints the horizon with gold also writes new mercy across your story. The same hands that lift the sun lift you. Do not rush. Let the stillness prepare you. You are standing at the doorway of sacred conversation. Step inside and let faith speak its quiet yes. Dear Heavenly Father, this morning I come before you with the quiet trembling of a heart that is both wary and willing. The world outside is hushed, wrapped in the soft stillness before sunrise, and I can feel the weight of everything I carried from yesterday pressing against this fragile hour. My thoughts are scattered like fallen leaves, and yet in this silence, I sense you waiting not with condemnation, but with compassion. You do not rush me. You do not demand the perfect words. You only invite me to be here, to exhale what has been held too long, and to make room for what you are about to renew. I bring before you the H that still echoes inside, the fear that tries to speak louder than faith, the questions that have no clear answers. Sometimes I wake before the world stirs and wonder if you see how tired I am of pretending to be strong. But here, in this soft light, I remember that you never asked me to be invincible. You asked me to be honest, to bring the truth of who I am and lay it at your feet. So I do that now. Every worry, every regret, every whisper of doubt, I set them before you like broken pieces, waiting for the touch of the healer. Father, I confess that it is hard to trust what I cannot see. I have tried to hold everything together with my own hands, but those hands are trembling. I have measured myself against impossible expectations, and still I come up short. Yet your word says that your power is made perfect in weakness, that even the smallest flicker of faith can move the immovable. I do not need to understand the outcome to rest in your presence. I only need to believe that you are near, that you are good, that you are able to make beauty from what feels beyond repair. Teach me, in this morning stillness, to breathe again. Teach me that peace does not mean the absence of struggle, but the assurance that I am not alone within it. Help me release the need to control what belongs to you. I surrender the anxious rhythm of my thoughts and ask that you replace it with the steady pulse of your peace. Let your spirit fill the spaces that exhaustion has hollowed out. Let your light seep into the corners where shame and fear have built their walls. As the first light brushes the horizon, remind me that new beginnings are written into creation itself. Every sunrise is a whisper of your mercy, a declaration that yesterday's darkness did not win. I stand in that truth today. I may not see the full picture, but I trust that your hand is painting something I cannot yet perceive. I choose to believe that even this valley holds purpose, that the waiting itself is not wasted, and that the ground of my sorrow is fertile with unseen grace. Dear Father, as I sit in the tender silence of this hour, awaken what has grown numb inside me. Let my heart remember its song. Even if it trembles, let my faith rise, not in noise but in quiet confidence. I do not need to shout to be heard by you. I only need to whisper sincerely. I choose to let this dawn be the moment. I start again, not by striving, but by surrendering. I give you my exhaustion, my unfinished prayers, my fragile hope. Take them. Shape them. Breathe over them until they become strength I cannot claim as my own. Wrap me in the calm that only you can give, the calm that steadies hands, softens voices, and teaches souls to rest. As the world awakens and the day begins to move, I will carry this stillness within me like a hidden flame. Let it remind me that your presence is not confined to this hour, but walks beside me through every noise and every shadow. Where my mind fears the unknown, let faith whisper, He is here. Where my heart wants to close again, remind me that healing always begins with opening. I do not ask for a perfect day, only for a faithful heart. I do not ask for every burden to vanish, only for the grace to bear them without losing joy. Let this morning mark the turning of my soul toward light. Let what begins here continue quietly through every moment that follows. And as the sun rises, let my spirit rise to steadier, softer, and ready to believe again. Father, the morning feels wider now, like the sky itself is exhaling. I can still sense the quiet from before, that sacred pause when everything held its breath. But now the air seems to stir with expectancy. My soul stirs with it. There is something in me that wants to speak, though words come slowly, shaped by both ache and hope. Yesterday's fears still whisper at the edges, but this moment invites a different sound, the trembling voice of a heart that finally dares to ask. It is not a shout of certainty, but the first cry of need. I lift it toward you, unsure yet sincere, because silence has grown too heavy to carry any longer. Lord, I do not want to live as though my pain must always remain private. I bring it into the light where you dwell. I bring the loneliness that hides beneath my composure, the exhaustion that no one sees, the disappointment that tastes of iron on my tongue. You know every layer of it. You saw the moment I stopped believing that help could come. Yet you are not offended by my struggle. You are drawn to it. So I let the words rise without polishing them. Help me, God. Lead me through what I do not understand. Teach me to trust even when nothing around me confirms it. There are days when prayer feels like throwing stones into the ocean's small efforts swallowed by vast silence. But maybe each stone is shaping something unseen beneath the surface. Maybe every whisper reaches farther than I imagine. Today, I choose to believe that no honest cry is wasted. You hear not the perfection of my sentences, but the intention behind them. You catch every syllable before it falls. If my voice cracks, let it crack open a door for mercy. If my tears fall, let them water the ground of my becoming. God, I confess that my faith is often impatient. I want instant proof. Visible rescue, a sign that your hand is already moving. Yet you call me to trust before I see, to believe before I feel. You ask me to rest not in outcomes, but in your character. So here in this tender morning, I try again. I offer my uncertainty as an altar. I tell you that I am ready to learn how dependence can be a form of strength, how surrender can sound like freedom. Teach me to call on you not only when the storm is loud, but also when the air is calm. Let my first reflex be prayer, not panic. There are fears that have lived inside me for too long, building their small empires in my thoughts. I lay them before you one by one. Fear of failure, fear of being unseen, fear that I will always circle the same questions and never find rest. I give them names so that your truth can confront them. Replace their echo with your assurance. Let courage be born not from pride but from peace. Let me remember that I am not abandoned in this fight. That even when I stumble, your hand remains steady. As I breathe in this new light, something within begins to loosen. The knots that bound my chest start to ease. I can almost feel the warmth of your attention, the gentle gravity that pulls my wandering thoughts back to you. It is strange and beautiful to realize that prayer itself is a form of healing. Each breath reminds me that you are near, listening, shaping, responding in ways unseen. Father, I do not ask for you to erase the valleys before me. I ask for the courage to walk through them without losing my song. Give me the grace to find you in ordinary things, the rhythm of my breath, the light spilling through a window, the quiet hum of the world waking up. Let these small witnesses remind me that your presence saturates the simplest moments. Let my heart learn to notice. There is a humility in asking, a softening that happens when I admit how much I need you. It is not weakness. It is recognition. It is the beginning of real strength. I ask you to meet me where pride has kept you at a distance. Teach me the sacred art of reaching. When I call your name, let the call itself become part of my healing. Let every syllable stretch the space within me where faith can breathe again. I know that every new day begins with sound, the rustle of leaves, the call of a bird, the pulse of life returning. Let my prayer join that symphony. Let my voice, small as it is, rise with creation's own chorus. For when I cry out to you, I am not alone. The entire world is praying in its own language of motion and light. I am part of something vast and living, part of the conversation between earth and heaven. So I lift my cry not as a demand, but as a declaration of trust. You have heard me even before I spoke. You have answered me before I finished the question. My task is simply to ask, to believe that in the asking itself, a bridge is built between my weakness and your strength. This morning, I choose to step onto that bridge. I choose to believe that the cry of my heart reaches you, and that you are already walking toward me through the dawn. Lord, as the echoes of my cry fade into the morning air, a different stillness begins to rise within me. It is softer, steadier, as though my soul is catching its breath after the storm. The world outside is fully awake now, and so am I. Yet there is a quiet thread that holds me close to you. It hums beneath every heartbeat, reminding me that peace is not found in the absence of noise, but in the alignment of my heart with yours. I sense you calling me to stillness, not the kind that empties, but the kind that fills, the kind that steadies my spirit after the trembling, that reorders what chaos has scattered. Father, I have spent so much of my life reacting to worry, to deadlines, to expectations. My thoughts run ahead of me, racing toward things that might never happen, dragging my body behind them. But now, in this morning light, I want to learn how to move differently. I want to walk at the pace of grace, not anxiety. I want my heart to beat in rhythm with your calm. Teach me how to stay centered when everything around me spins. Teach me that peace is not a reward, but a posture, one I can return to whenever I drift. There is a strange comfort in realizing that you do not rush me. You are not measuring my worth by how quickly I find focus or how perfectly I pray. You simply invite me to return again and again. Every breath becomes a path back to you. When I inhale, I remember your presence. When I exhale, I release what is not mine to hold. Slowly, my thoughts begin to quiet. The noise of self-doubt softens. The tightness in my chest loosens. In the small sanctuary of this moment, I begin to feel whole again, not because everything is fixed, but because you are here. God, help me guard this sense of centeredness as the day unfolds. I know how easily I drift. One distraction, one worry, and I forget how it feels to be grounded in you. I rush ahead into conversations that steal my peace, scroll through fragments of other people's lives, and forget that joy is not found in comparison. Pull me back each time I wander. Whisper my name when I lose the rhythm of grace. Let my first instinct be to pause rather than panic, to breathe rather than brace. Sometimes I think peace must mean silence. But you remind me that even in the middle of noise, stillness can live inside. The sound of traffic, the hum of voices, the clatter of work, they do not have to drown your voice. You speak beneath them, not above them. Teach me to listen differently. Let my heart be an instrument tuned to your frequency, so that I can recognize your tone amid the noise. When I forget, remind me that I was made for communion, not confusion. My soul was designed to echo your steady pulse. Lord, I bring before you the clutter that fills my inner space, the looping worries, the half-formed regrets, the conversations that replay in my head long after they are over. I lay them down one by one. I ask you to sort what needs attention from what needs surrender. Show me the difference between solving and releasing. I cannot hold everything. I was never meant to. Let your wisdom rearrange the interior of my heart until it mirrors the quiet order of your peace. There is a beauty in simplicity, and I want to live from that place, to speak only what builds, to think only what brings light, to act from love and not from fear. Let my words today carry calm instead of tension. Let my steps move with intention rather than haste. Anchor me in gratitude for the ordinary, a warm cup in my hands, the laughter of someone I love, the grace of air entering my lungs again. In these small things, you remind me that holiness often hides in simplicity. Father, if my mind begins to scatter, gather it gently. If my heart grows restless, lay your peace across it like a quiet hand. Help me see that control is not the same as order, that stillness does not mean inactivity, but trust. I want to act from a centered place, not from the shallow energy of urgency. I want to respond to life instead of reacting to it. I want to walk with an awareness that every moment carries your presence like fragrance in the air. As I breathe again, I realize how easily peace slips through the cracks of distraction, and yet how faithfully it returns when I turn back to you. I do not need to chase it. I only need to welcome it. Peace is not an achievement, but an inheritance. It is the gift you left when you said, "My peace I give to you." I hold that promise now like a steady flame cupped in my hands. I will carry it through the noise, through the meetings, through the unexpected moments that could steal my calm. God, thank you for teaching me that stillness is strength. It is not weakness to pause, it is wisdom. It is not passivity to breathe. It is participation in your rhythm. Help me guard this centered heart with humility and awareness. Let me see interruptions not as intrusions, but as invitations to return, to breathe, to trust again. And if I lose my way, remind me that you never move far. You are always one breath away, waiting in the stillness, ready to recenter me once more. Father, as the quiet of stillness settles deeper into me, I begin to sense how fragile peace can feel when the world awakens with its demands. The same calm that felt unshakable an hour ago can tremble when voices rise, when headlines speak fear, when memories return uninvited. And yet, you whisper again, not to cling to calmness as if it were a delicate glass, but to stand firm in faith as though I am already armored. You remind me that peace is not meant to hide behind walls. It is meant to walk into battle protected by trust. So I breathe, and I reach for the invisible shield you have placed within my grasp, the faith that guards what peace has built. Lord, there are moments when I can almost feel the tension of unseen warfare, not with swords or soldiers, but within my thoughts. Doubt creeps in quietly, dressing itself as reason, whispering what if and why now. The shield of faith, you tell me, is not decoration but defense. It is not to be stored away for emergencies, but lifted daily in readiness. Today, I lift it again. I lift it not in arrogance, but in awareness, knowing that faith is not a feeling, it is a stance. It is the quiet strength to stand when the wind presses hard, to trust when evidence is thin, to hold your word above my own assumptions. God, teach me to recognize the subtle arrows before they wound. The arrow of discouragement that disguises itself as realism. The arrow of comparison that steals joy from gratitude. The arrow of fear that whispers failure before I even begin. Help me lift the shield before these lies find rest in me. Let your truth intercept every dart, every accusation, every unspoken condemnation that tries to pierce through. Let faith not only defend but transform my perspective, turning every threat into a reminder of how fiercely you protect. Father, I admit how easily my focus shifts. One moment, I am centered in trust, and the next, I am scanning the horizon for danger. My mind rehearses worst-case scenarios as if anxiety were a form of preparation. But you invite me to a different kind of readiness, a readiness rooted in peace. Not panic. You ask me to stand firm, not because I am immune to fear, but because I am covered by grace. You are my refuge when my own confidence fails. You are the unseen wall that surrounds my fragile courage. You are the presence that makes courage possible at all. There are battles I cannot see, and that truth used to terrify me. But now, as I learn to rest in faith, I realize I do not need to see what you already guard against. The shield is enough. Faith does not demand full knowledge. It trusts the one who knows. And when doubt rises, when I question whether I am strong enough, you remind me that the shield is not made of my strength, but of yours. It is held not by my perfect belief, but by your unbroken promise. Even trembling hands can lift it. Even small faith can stand behind it and find safety. Lord, I remember that the armor you give is not heavy, it is holy. It does not weigh me down, but steadies me. Each morning, as I put on peace, I also take up protection. Let faith guard my thoughts before fear can occupy them. Let it wrap around my mind like steady light, keeping me from reacting out of dread. Let it filter what I absorb, so I am not shaped by noise but by truth. When criticism comes, when misunderstanding cuts deep, let faith be the boundary that keeps bitterness out and love within. There will be moments today, I know, when the world will test this covering. Someone's anger may seek to draw out my own. A headline may attempt to stir anxiety. A memory may try to reopen an old wound. In those moments, remind me that faith does not mean the absence of conflict. It means the presence of confidence. It means remembering that nothing reaches me without first passing through your care. It means knowing that I am not unprotected, even when I feel exposed. God, let this shield not only defend, but also teach. Teach me how to live bravely in a fearful world. Teach me how to respond to hostility with quiet strength, to uncertainty with steady hope. Let faith be my reflex, not fear. Let it color the way I interpret every challenge, not as proof of abandonment, but as invitation to trust deeper. Let it remind me that the same God who calmed seas with a word still governs the waves that reach my shore. As the day expands and the light grows brighter, I can feel that peace is no longer fragile, it is fortified. What began as morning stillness has become spiritual strength. I no longer stand merely hoping that darkness will not return. I stand knowing that even if it does, it cannot defeat the light within. Faith is the unseen architecture of courage. It is the structure beneath calmness, the foundation under every step forward. And today, I walk beneath that covering. Father, if doubt should come again, let it find no resting place. If fear tries to speak, let it echo into silence against the wall of trust you have built around me. And if I falter, remind me that shields are not trophies, they are tools. They are meant to be lifted again and again. Each time I raise it, I remember who stands behind me. Each time I hold it up, I remember that victory does not belong to the strongest, but to the steadfast. So here I am, shield in hand, faith alive, heart guarded. I step forward into this day, knowing that whatever comes, you are my defense. And in that truth, I am safe, Lord, as I stand within the quiet strength that faith builds. I begin to see how every day unfolds like a road that is both familiar and unknown. Yesterday's path fades behind me, and before me stretches another, lit only by a few steps of light. The shield still rests near my heart, but now you invite me to move forward. It is not enough to be protected. I must also be guided. I do not ask you to reveal the entire map, only the next stone under my feet. I know now that clarity is not the same as control. Sometimes the truest faith is not in seeing far ahead, but in trusting that light will appear exactly when is needed. Father, I have wasted so many mornings trying to plan every outcome, arranging my hours as though certainty could be summoned by effort alone. Yet even the best plans unravel when they are built on fear. So today I offer you something simpler, my willingness. Direct me as you will. Shape my day as an artist shapes clay, pressing what must be pressed, softening what has hardened. Where I have insisted on my own way, loosen my grip Teach me that obedience is not blind surrender, but partnership with divine wisdom. Let each choice I make, no matter how small, carry the quiet awareness that you are already ahead of me, preparing the ground for my steps. God, show me how to listen beneath the noise for your guidance. It rarely arrives as thunder. More often it is a whisper tucked inside the ordinary. It might be a hesitation before speaking, a sudden warmth toward someone I meant to ignore, a door that closes gently before harm finds me. Help me notice these subtleties. Help me trust them. My heart wants to discern what is yours from what is mine, what is true from what merely feels urgent. Teach me to pause before reacting, to ask before assuming, to seek your direction not out of fear of making mistakes, but from a desire to walk in harmony with you. The road before me may twist, it may even narrow. I do not ask you to straighten it, only to walk beside me so that I will not mistake detours for defeat. If I stumble, remind me that grace is the hand that helps me rise. If I face a crossroads, remind me that peace often points toward the right way. Even when logic protests, and when I cannot tell left from right, let stillness be my compass. You have never been in a hurry, and I do not need to be either. Slow my steps until they match the rhythm of your patience. There are choices today that feel heavy with consequence. Conversations that could change how others see me. Decisions that ripple beyond what I can foresee. I bring them all into your light. I will not pretend to know the right answer, but I will listen for the small voice that says, "This is the way. Walk in it." Let wisdom be born from reverence, not fear. Let discernment be a fruit of intimacy, not suspicion. If I must wait, let me wait well, without resentment. If I must act, let me act with clarity that carries peace instead of pride. Father, sometimes your guidance feels like silence, and I am tempted to fill that silence with my own ideas. But even silence has its message. It teaches me to trust that unseen work is still work, that delay is often preparation. You do not rush what you are shaping. The seed does not demand to see its roots before it grows. So when answers hide beyond my sight, help me rest in the knowing that you are never absent, only patient. Let that truth steady my heart until I see again. The light you give is rarely overwhelming. It does not blind. It balances. It is enough for the step I am on, not the entire staircase. And that is mercy, not mystery. If I saw too far ahead, I might run where you meant me to walk, or hesitate where you meant me to move. So I will take this small circle of light and let it be enough. Each moment lived in faith expands it further. What begins as a single gleam becomes a path, and what feels like a step of uncertainty becomes a testimony of trust. God, help me remember that guidance is not only about direction, it is also about transformation. You are not merely showing me where to go, but shaping who I become along the way. Each decision refined in prayer is a chiseling of character. Each delay endured with faith is a deepening of wisdom. Every time I surrender my timeline, I grow lighter. Every time I listen instead of rush, I grow closer to the sound of your voice. Let my journey today be less about achievement and more about alignment. As the morning brightens, I feel the weight of possibility stretching before me. The world begins to hum with motion, doors opening, engines starting, voices calling. But beneath it all, your quiet invitation remains. Walk with me. Not ahead, not behind, but with. If I begin to stray into worry, remind me to return to that companionship. If I start to question whether you still guide me, let the memory of past mercies answer that doubt. You have led me through darker valleys than this. You have never failed to bring light at the appointed time. So I step forward now, not with certainty but with confidence. The day does not need to reveal its secrets. It only needs to reveal your presence. And I know it will. The light that began as dawn now touches everything: trees, rooftops, faces, and I realize that this same light rests also on me. It is both promise and reminder. The one who guides the sun across the sky also orders my steps upon the earth. And that is enough. Father, as I continue walking under the light you have given, I realize how easily shadows try to follow. Even with direction clear and faith alive, fear still lingers like a quiet echo at the edge of courage. It waits for moments of hesitation, whispering what if into the tender places of trust. I know its voice too well, the one that questions every step, that convinces me to shrink back when I should move forward. Yet this morning, in your presence, I no longer wish to negotiate with fear. I will not call it wisdom when it is really doubt. I will not disguise its weight as caution. Today, I break every silent agreement I have made with it. Lord, you did not create me to live as a captive to what might go wrong. You formed me for freedom, for boldness, for the steady rhythm of faith that moves through uncertainty with quiet assurance. Fear may visit, but it cannot stay. It may knock, but it no longer receives an answer. I bring before you every hidden corner where fear has built its small altars, every anxious thought, every repeating worry, every imagination that paints disaster in colors too vivid to ignore. I bring them all into your light. Fear thrives in secrecy, but it loses its voice in truth. So I speak it aloud before you. I name it so it can no longer name me. God, remind me that courage is not the absence of trembling. It is choosing trust in spite of it. It is looking fear in the face and deciding that love is stronger. I do not want a fearless heart. I want a faithful one. Teach me that bravery does not always roar. Sometimes it is a whisper that says, I will not run. Let that whisper grow inside me until it becomes an anthem of peace. Let faith stand taller than dread. Let hope speak louder than anxiety. Let perfect love, the love that casts out fear, take root so deeply that no shadow can uproot it. Father, I see now that fear often disguises itself as protection. It tells me not to try, not to trust, not to risk being hurt again. It convinces me that safety is sacred, but safety without faith is a small prison. You are calling me into wide spaces, places where my steps might feel uncertain, but my footing is secure in you. Help me release the illusion of control that fear offers. Help me trade my need for guarantees for the beauty of dependence. Let me walk through today unarmored, except for faith and love. Let my heart become brave enough to stay open. There are memories that still sting, the times when things broke despite my prayers, when silence felt like abandonment. Fear grows from those wounds, feeding on the belief that pain will repeat itself. But you are not the author of fear. You are the restorer of trust. Heal the places where disappointment built walls around my hope. Show me that faith is not denial. It is defiance, the refusal to let pain have the final word. If the past taught me to brace for loss, then let grace teach me to lean toward life again. I cannot change what was, but I can choose what it will mean. Let the scars remind me of survival, not defeat. Lord, I lift before you every part of me that has agreed with fierce lies. The part that believes joy is fragile. The part that doubts I am enough. The part that hesitates to dream because disappointment once felt unbearable. I give them all to you. Replace them with truth that joy is not fragile when it is rooted in you. That worth is not earned but given. That dreams are not naive when they are surrendered to divine timing. Let every lie crumble under the weight of your presence. Let faith rise in its place like dawn breaking through fog. God, when fear whispers today, teach me to answer with your promises. When anxiety tightens my chest, let me remember that breath itself is proof of your nearness. When my thoughts spiral into what if, remind me of what is you are here. You have been here. You will not leave. The same voice that spoke creation into being speaks peace into my heart even now. I will not agree with fierce predictions when I know the author of my future. Let that truth become my steady ground. There will be moments when fear returns dressed as logic, trying to convince me that faith is reckless. But faith, as you have shown me, is not recklessness. It is relational. It is trusting the character of the one who leads. I do not follow a map. I follow a shepherd. I will not allow fear to define what is possible. I will not let it decide how far love can reach or how deep hope can go. The boundaries fear built are illusions. With you, there is always more grace, more courage, more peace waiting beyond the walls I once thought were necessary. Father, let me walk through this day aware of my freedom. When I enter spaces that once triggered anxiety, let my heart remain steady. When uncertainty rises, let me breathe through it as one who knows I am already safe. Fear may visit, but it no longer owns the room. My mind belongs to peace now. My spirit belongs to faith. My story belongs to love. I will not bow to the familiar voice of worry when the whisper of truth is stronger. As morning stretches toward noon, I can feel the shift, the invisible breaking of chains I did not realize I still carried. The air feels lighter, my soul clearer. I understand now that courage is not something I must create. It is something I uncover when I stop listening to lies. Freedom was never far. It waited in the quiet yes of trust. And as I step into the rest of this day, I do so unbound. The shadows still move, but they no longer define me. I walk forward under a different agreement, the covenant of faith, sealed not by fear of what could go wrong, but by confidence in the one who makes all things right. Father, as the dust of fear begins to settle and the air around my heart grows lighter, I sense that freedom is not complete until I learn how to cleanse the story I tell myself. You have broken the power of fear. Yet its residue remains in memory's small echoes of old narratives that replay in quiet corners of my mind. They whisper half-truths about who I am, what I deserve, and how much I am capable of becoming. I know that you call me not just to live without fear, but to live within truth. So this morning, I bring before you every fragment of my inner story that still carries the scent of shame, defeat, or unworthiness. I am ready to rewrite them with you. Lord, I confess how easily I have believed the wrong storytellers' voices that told me my value depended on performance, that my mistakes defined me, that love must always be earned. I carried those scripts for years, acting them out even when I knew they hurt me. They became the background noise of my thoughts, convincing me that change was impossible. But you, gentle and patient, keep reminding me that I am not the sum of my failures. My story is not a tragedy. It is a work in progress written by grace. Help me to internalize the truth until it becomes instinct, until even in silence I can hear your affirmation louder than any old accusation. God, help me to recognize the words I speak to myself when no one else is listening. The quiet sentences that shape the way I see my own reflection. Some of them are kind, others are cruel. Some were planted long ago by people who could not see me clearly, and I have watered them by repeating their lies. But you are inviting me to uproot them. Teach me to replace criticism with compassion, to speak life where I once spoke judgment. Let my inner voice begin to echo yours steady, merciful, and true. Father, I ask that you wash over the memories that still sting, the ones that replay without permission, not to erase them, but to redeem them. Let your light fall gently over each scene, revealing where you were even when I could not see you. Let healing flow through the cracks of those moments, like water through stone, softening what was once hardened by regret. Help me stop narrating my past as proof of failure and begin to see it as the foundation of wisdom. Every pain, every loss, every unanswered prayer carries something sacred when surrendered to you. Show me how to extract meaning without reliving the wound. There are days when the story inside me does not match the grace I proclaim. I speak hope to others while doubting it for myself, but you see the contradiction and do not condemn it. Instead, you invite me deeper into honesty. I do not need to pretend to be healed to be loved. I do not need to hide my process to belong. You love me mid-sentence, even before I find the right words to describe the transformation. That realization alone begins to cleanse the narrative to know that your affection is not earned by progress, but sustained by presence. Lord, as I invite you into my inner dialogue, help me to guard what takes root there. Let gratitude become the narrator that interprets events through kindness. Let forgiveness become the editor that removes bitterness from the script. Let faith be the pen that rewrites endings once marked by despair. I want to tell my story the way heaven sees it, not as a list of flaws, but as the unfolding of redemption. Each morning can be a new paragraph. Each prayer, a revision filled with hope. When I look at others, remind me that they, too, are still being written. The harsh judgments I make toward them often mirror the unhealed judgments I carry toward myself. teach me to read their stories with gentleness, the same way you read mine, with full knowledge of the broken chapters, and yet full confidence in the restoration to come. Let compassion guide my eyes, because only love can interpret truthfully. Only love can tell the story without distortion. Father, I open my heart to the cleansing flow of your truth. Wash away the residue of words spoken in anger by others or by me. Wash away the conclusions I drew from pain that were never meant to define me. Let every thought that contradicts your goodness lose its grip. Where shame once lived, let dignity take its place. Where bitterness once lingered, let joy move in quietly and begin to rebuild. Where I believed I was alone, remind me that you have always been the unseen author, weaving light through my darkest lines. As I breathe, I imagine the pages of my life being gently turned by your hand. Not one of them wasted, not one beyond repair. Even the torn ones, the ones stained by sorrow, are being restored, pressed together into something stronger. I do not need to hide them. They are part of the testimony. You make beauty from fragments, coherence from chaos. The story you are telling through me is not perfect, but it is sacred. Lord, let today be a page written with clarity and peace. Let my thoughts align with what you say is true, that I am chosen, forgiven, becoming. Let every word I speak about myself, about others, carry the tone of healing. Let no memory hold me hostage, no opinion weigh me down. I release the right to narrate from pain. I choose to narrate from grace. I choose to believe that even in moments of confusion, you are still crafting meaning. As the morning unfolds, I feel lighter. The inner noise quiets. My story no longer feels like something I must defend. It feels like something I can share, and in this sacred quiet, I sense a new chapter beginning, one not written in fear or regret, but in truth and love, authored by the same gentle hand that never stops writing. Lord, as I rest in the quiet awareness that my story is being written by grace, I begin to sense another truth rising gently within me. Healing is not only comfort, it is refinement. Growth does not come merely from being soothed, but from being shaped. And sometimes, shaping requires fire. You are not the destroyer of what is precious, but the refiner who burns away what cannot remain. This morning, I do not resist the flame of transformation. I come to you with the willingness to be refined, to let the fire do its holy work, not to consume, but to clarify. Father, there are parts of me still clinging to old habits, to patterns that once protected me, but now only limit me. I see the reflexes of pride that keep me from admitting when I am wrong, the quiet resentment that still hides behind politeness, the subtle ways I avoid honesty for fear of disapproval. These fragments may be small, but they distort the reflection of your light within me. I do not want to live half-cleansed, half-trusting. If it takes heat to purify what love has claimed, then let the fire come not in wrath, but in mercy. Let it burn through the walls I have built, through the excuses I have made, through the indifference that dulls my compassion. God, help me remember that your fire is not like the world's fire. It does not destroy to prove power. It consumes only what separates. It does not scorch identity. It reveals it. When I feel the ache of conviction, remind me that pain is not punishment. It is the sound of falsehood breaking apart. The discomfort that exposes my weakness is not shame. It is invitation. You are not trying to embarrass me. You are trying to set me free. So I open myself to your refining touch. Burn away what blinds me to truth. Melt down the hardness of self-reliance until humility flows pure again. There are moments when this refining feels unbearable, when circumstances press too hard, when relationships unravel, when the familiar structures of certainty collapse. In those moments, it is easy to accuse the flame of cruelty. Yet you whisper in the middle of it, reminding me that gold cannot shine until it has endured the fire. I want to trust that what feels like breaking is really becoming. I want to believe that every trial carries within it the possibility of revelation. Let me see the sacred even in the heat. Let me trust that refinement is a form of love too deep to leave me as I am. Father, teach me to stay in the process without resentment. Teach me not to run from discomfort too quickly or numb it with distraction. There is something holy in endurance when it is held with you. The fire loses its terror when I remember that you stand within it, like you did with the three who walked through flames unharmed. Your presence becomes the atmosphere of safety inside the furnace. The danger is real, but it cannot claim me. The heat is intense, but it refines instead of devars. I am never burned alone. Sometimes refinement happens quietly in the way I forgive when anger would be easier, in the way I choose silence instead of retaliation, in the way I stay gentle when everything in me wants to harden. These are the smaller fires, the daily ones that purify slowly, that teach endurance through the unremarkable moments of surrender. Help me recognize them, Lord. Let me not wait for grand transformations to call it holy. Refinement happens in the patience to listen, in the humility to learn, in the quiet decision to remain kind. God, I know there are things I must lay down into the flame deliberately. My need to control outcomes, my addiction to approval, my hidden jealousy that sometimes dresses itself as humility. I bring them all to you now. Let them burn completely. Let the smoke of surrender rise like incense before you, fragrant with honesty. I do not fear loss when I give them up. I fear what happens if I keep them, for they weigh more than they protect. Take them from me, and in their place, breathe purity, purity of motive, purity of thought, purity of love. There is a strange peace that follows surrender. Once the fire has done its work, the ashes left behind are not symbols of ruin, but of renewal. From them, something new always grows. You are a God who wastes nothing, not even the remnants of what was burned. So even as you refine me, I trust that no pain is pointless, no loss empty. What you consume, you also resurrect in better form. The heart you purify becomes more capable of love. The mind you discipline becomes clearer. The soul you temper becomes unbreakable. Father, keep me tender during the process. It is easy to grow defensive when conviction stings, easy to hide behind pride when vulnerability feels dangerous. But tenderness is the soil where transformation takes root. Let me stay soft enough for you to mold, pliable enough for your hand to leave its impression. I do not want to emerge from this season hardened by survival. I want to emerge radiant with wisdom, carrying peace instead of bitterness. Let humility be the mark that the refining was real. As the morning deepens and light fills the room, I imagine your fire not as destruction, but as illumination, warm, alive, and steady. It flickers not with threat, but with promise. I can almost feel it moving through me, clearing space, revealing gold beneath the soot. I begin to see myself the way you see me, unfinished yet beautiful, tested yet chosen. And though the refining is ongoing, I know now that the purpose of fire is never to end me, but to free me. I stand in that truth, unafraid, glowing quietly in the light of becoming. Father, as the warmth of refinement still lingers within me, I realize that some fires burn, not to cleanse the self, but to release others from the hold of pain. The fire of forgiveness is such a flame, quiet, steady, holy. It does not blaze in spectacle. It glows in hidden corners of the heart where resentment once sat heavy. It calls me, softly yet firmly, to loosen my grip on what hurt me. I can feel you urging me toward that sacred release. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is choosing freedom over memory's chain. It is the courage to live unbound. Lord, I bring before you the faces and moments that still tighten something deep inside me. The words that cut sharper than they should have. The betrayal that arrived from trusted hands. The silence that felt like abandonment. They are small wounds to others perhaps, but to me they became roots that twined through my heart, stealing strength with every passing season. I thought I had forgiven long ago, yet the H remains, faint but constant. It rises unexpectedly when I see a familiar name, when I hear a song that recalls a lost moment. And I realize forgiveness is not a one-time act, but a lifelong practice of grace. So here I am again. Father, not to perform, but to surrender. God, you know how forgiveness feels impossible when justice seems undone. My mind argues that letting go is weakness, that forgetting means allowing wrong to win. But you remind me that forgiveness is not endorsement, it is release. It is the decision to stop carrying what was never mine to fix. You hold justice in your hands. You alone know how to heal what human fairness cannot reach. I am not called to be judge or avenger. I am called to be free. Help me lay down the need to balance the scales. Let peace be the verdict instead. There are people who never said sorry, who may never understand what their actions cost. Yet even for them, I choose forgiveness. Not because they deserve it, but because I cannot keep drinking the poison of bitterness and expect to live. Bitterness promises safety, but it traps me in the past. Forgiveness, though painful at first, is the door to forward motion. It does not rewrite what happened, but it rewrites what happens next. It lets light enter the spaces where pain once ruled. I want that light, Lord. I need it to breathe again. Father, teach me to forgive not only those who hurt me, but also the version of myself that lived through those moments. The one who stayed silent when she should have spoken, who trusted too quickly, who loved without discernment, who failed to see warning signs. She was doing the best she could with what she knew. Let me extend the same mercy to her that you extend to me. Let the voice of grace replace the inner critic that still replays her mistakes. To forgive myself is to agree with your mercy, to believe that I am not beyond redemption, that my story can still carry beauty after brokenness. There are days when the act of forgiveness feels like release and more like loss, like surrendering the last proof that I was wronged. But you remind me that holding on to pain does not preserve dignity. It only perpetuates it. Forgiveness does not erase boundaries or dismiss accountability. It restores alignment with truth. It means I can look at the past without flinching, speak of it without bitterness, and remember it without re-entering it. That is freedom, not denial. Lord, sometimes forgiveness feels like a mountain, and my strength feels too small to climb. When anger resurfaces, when memories replay with fresh sting, remind me that the journey toward release is not linear. It is okay to forgive again and again until my heart catches up with my will. Each attempt matters. Each small act of letting go shifts something unseen inside me. Even if I stumble, the path still leads upward. You are patient with my pace, and that patience itself is healing. God, I ask for the grace to bless those I once resented, not with empty words, but with sincerity born from your spirit. Let me wish them peace, not as a moral duty, but as a genuine prayer for their wholeness. Let me understand that their own wounds may have shaped their actions, that hurt people often hurt others. This does not excuse pain, but it explains it, and in understanding, compassion grows. Compassion does not cancel justice, but it transforms how I carry it. It keeps my heart from turning to stone. There are relationships that may never be restored. And that, too, is part of forgiveness, to accept distance without resentment. Reconciliation is a gift that requires two willing hearts. But forgiveness begins with one. It does not depend on apology or reunion. It depends on grace. Let me forgive quietly even when the world does not see. Let the invisible work of release become the visible peace of a life unburdened. Father, I can almost feel the untying happening as I speak these words. The knots loosen, the air clears. The heaviness that once clung to my spirit begins to lift. Forgiveness is not a transaction, it is transformation. It makes room for joy to return, for laughter to exist without guilt, for trust to rebuild in new soil. Where resentment once blocked the flow of love, grace begins to pour freely again. I did not realize how much energy it took to hold grudges until I started to let them go. The relief feels like oxygen after a long dive underwater. As the morning brightens, I sense that this is how healing feels, not loud, not instant, but deep and steady. The world outside moves on, but something eternal shifts within. I understand now that forgiveness is not weakness. It is the quiet courage that mirrors divine love. It is standing in the light of mercy and choosing to extend it outward, even to those who may never recognize it. It is remembering that I, too, am a recipient of undeserved grace. So I walk forward lighter, not because the past has vanished, but because it no longer defines my present. The wounds remain, but they no longer dictate my story. I can finally breathe in peace without tasting bitterness. And in that breath, I find you again, steady, patient, and proud of the freedom we have carved together from what once seemed impossible. Father, as forgiveness unfolds like dawn within me, I notice how peace begins to move from my mind into my body, the tension that lived behind my ribs, the heaviness that once sat in my shoulders, starts to dissolve slowly like mist lifting from a field. I realize now how deeply the spirit and the body speak to each other, how grief can live in bones, how anxiety can tighten muscles, how joy can make the chest expand with ease. You designed this fragile temple of flesh and breath not as a cage, but as a home, a place where your spirit chooses to dwell. So this morning, I bring both my body and soul before you for healing, not just for the relief of pain, but for restoration the kind that makes wholeness possible again. Lord, I confess that I have not always treated this body with reverence. I have pushed it past its limits, ignored its warnings, silenced its cries for rest. I have sought comfort in excess and called it strength, or drowned exhaustion in business and called it purpose. Yet you whisper gently, reminding me that my body is not an obstacle to holiness, but part of it. To care for it is to honor the life you breathed into me. Help me to learn the difference between vanity and stewardship, between obsession and gratitude. Teach me to listen to my body with compassion, to recognize that fatigue is not failure, that rest is not laziness, that healing takes time and tenderness. God, touch the places where pain still lingers, the chronic aches that prayer seems to overlook, the hidden fatigue that lingers beneath even joyful days. You know where the imbalance lies, the unspoken stress, the nights of shallow sleep, the unwept tears that have settled into the body's memory. Move through each space with your quiet light. Heal what medicine cannot reach, and guide me toward the wisdom that medicine still provides. Let me not reject practical help out of pride, nor depend on it without inviting your presence into the process. Healing is not just a miracle. It is also a partnership between heaven and earth. There are wounds that flesh remembers long after the mind has forgiven. A touch, a scent, a word can summon old fear back to life. Yet you, Father, are patient with this slow unraveling. You do not rush healing. You nurture it. When I feel frustrated that progress is invisible, remind me that wholeness often grows underground before it blooms. You are restoring me even in the unseen. Every steady breath, every softened thought, every quiet moment of surrender is part of the healing you are weaving through my being. Lord, I also bring before you the inner fatigue that no amount of sleep can fix, the weariness of soul that comes from carrying invisible burdens, the emotional bruises left by disappointment, the disorientation of change, the emptiness after long endurance. There are places within me that have forgotten what peace feels like, places where hope has been replaced by endurance alone. Touch them now. Let your spirit move gently where human comfort cannot reach, where my faith feels thin. Layer it again with grace. Where my joy feels fragile, anchor it in your steadfast love. Let restoration flow not as a flood that overwhelms, but as a river that nourishes every dry root. Sometimes, Lord, I wonder why healing takes so long. I want miracles that erase pain instantly. Yet you teach me that quick relief is not always true recovery. Deep healing takes time because it transforms, not just removes. It reshapes the patterns that caused the wound, strengthens what was once weak, and trains the heart to trust again. So I surrender to the slow process, I trust that you are healing me, even when I still feel fragile. The body may ache, the soul may tremble, but your grace is steady, working in layers deeper than I can feel. Father, remind me that healing is not only for survival, it is for purpose. When you mend, you also commission. The strength restored is not just for comfort, but for compassion. Help me remember that the comfort I receive is meant to overflow toward others who still hurt. Let empathy rise from what I have endured. Not bitterness. Let my healed places become havens where others find rest. Every scar can tell a story, not of damage, but of deliverance. I want my life to whisper that truth to anyone who still believes pain has the final word. There are days when healing feels like a rhythm, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. In those moments, let me not despair. The human body and soul both remember in cycles. Recovery is rarely linear. Let patience become my medicine, gratitude my therapy. When I wake without pain, let me give thanks. When I wake with pain, let me still give thanks for the breath that carries me through it. Both are evidence of life. Both are spaces where grace can meet me. God, help me nurture what you are renewing. Let me nourish this body with care rather than criticism, with rest instead of punishment. Let me feed my spirit with hope instead of worry. Teach me the discipline of joy, the practice of finding beauty in movement, in nourishment, in stillness. Let laughter become a kind of healing prayer. Let tears, too, be holy, washing away what words cannot. Every sensation, every heartbeat, every pulse is testimony that I am still alive, still loved, still part of your design. As light spills across the morning, I feel the sacredness of simply being here in this body, in this breath, in this unfolding story of renewal. Healing does not always announce itself with thunder. Sometimes it is found in the quiet ability to breathe deeply again, to feel safe inside my own skin, to rest without resistance. That is enough. You are making me whole, piece by piece, gently but certainly. And as I rise to face the day, I do so with gratitude for every cell, every memory, every moment that declares, I am being restored, not just in body, not just in soul, but in the harmony between the two, where your presence abides and peace finds its eternal home. Father, as my body finds rest and my soul learns again the rhythm of healing, I begin to think of the world that awaits beyond these quiet hours. The day ahead is full of needs, bills to pay, work to finish, people to meet, responsibilities that do not pause for the sake of reflection. Yet as I breathe within this stillness, I feel you reminding me that provision is not merely about resources. It is about relationship. True abundance is not measured in accumulation, but in alignment. You are not just the giver of things. You are the source of enough. And enough, when received with gratitude, becomes abundance in disguise. Lord, I bring before you the tangible concerns that tug at my mind, the deadlines that seem impossible, the uncertainties that press against tomorrow, the invisible pressure to always do more, earn more, become more. These burdens are familiar companions, And yet I do not want to serve them. I want to serve you. I want my hands to work from faith, not fear. My labor to flow from calling, not competition. You never meant for striving to replace trust. Help me remember that diligence and desperation are not the same thing. I can give my best without surrendering my peace. God, teach me to see work not as a punishment, but as partnership with creation. You invite me to cultivate, to contribute, to build something that blesses others. In this, even simple tasks become sacred. Whether I speak words, lift tools, design, serve, or listen, every act can become worship when done in awareness of you. But remind me also that provision is not earned through exhaustion. You are not glorified by burnout. You delight in balance, the rhythm of effort and rest, giving and receiving, sowing and reaping. Help me keep that rhythm holy. Father, I ask for provision with integrity. The world often whispers that survival requires compromise, that shortcuts are necessary, that ethics are luxuries reserved for those who already have enough. But I want no gain that costs my peace, no success that drains my spirit. Provide for me in ways that preserve my character. Let my income never exceed my integrity. Let every door that opens be one you have unlocked, not one I have forced with anxiety. If an opportunity tempts me to trade honesty for approval, close it gently before I wander too far. I trust that you can meet my needs without wounding my conscience. There have been seasons, Lord, when lack taught me humility more than abundance ever could. The emptiness of my hands made space for the fullness of your faithfulness. Even when resources were scarce, your timing was precise, help arriving in forms I could not predict. Sometimes it came as a person's kindness, sometimes as strength I did not know I possessed. These memories remind me that provision is not limited to currency. It is favor, opportunity, health, insight, courage. It is the peace that steadies me when numbers do not add up, the hope that keeps me creative in uncertainty. Remind me of this when I am tempted to measure security by what I own. Lord, make me a faithful steward of what I have. Teach me to hold possessions loosely and generosity tightly. Let me not confuse blessing with ownership. What you give, you intend to flow through me, not stop with me. I do not want to hoard out of fear of scarcity. I want to give as one who believes in an unending source. Show me where I can be an answer to someone else's prayer. Let my provision become participation in your provision for the world. When I give, let it not be from obligation, but from overflow. God, when anxiety about the future rises, remind me that you are already there. You have gone ahead of me into every need, preparing what I cannot yet see. I may not know the how or the when, but I know the who, and that knowledge is enough to quiet the panic that pretends to be responsibility. Replace worry with wisdom, fear with foresight, greed with gratitude. Teach me that trust does not mean passivity. It means working with peace rather than panic. It means planting without demanding instant fruit. It means knowing that each effort offered with sincerity becomes seed in the soil of your provision. Father, help me recognize the hidden ways you sustain me each day, the breath I did not earn, The sunrise I did not request, the ideas that arrive unannounced, the friendships that strengthen me quietly. These are the unseen deposits of grace that remind me abundance is already here. Help me notice them before I ask for more. Gratitude itself is a form of wealth. It multiplies what it touches. When my heart counts blessings instead of lacks, even the smallest portion becomes enough. Still, Lord, you know the needs I cannot ignore, the financial pressures, the responsibilities that feel too heavy to carry alone. I bring them honestly to you. I do not hide the concern, but I refuse to let it rule me. You are my provider, not my paycheck. You are the stability beneath every uncertain circumstance. So I ask for open doors that align with purpose, for wisdom in how to manage what I receive, for the grace to trust that you can multiply what seems small. Let my life become a testimony of quiet abundance, a story not of sudden wealth, but of sustained faith. As the day stretches before me, I choose to walk not as one desperate for control, but as one confident in care. The same hand that feeds the sparrows holds my tomorrow. The same voice that spoke the earth into being speaks peace into my striving. I am not alone in my labor, and I am not forgotten in my need. Your provision is steady, creative, and timely, and as sunlight fills the room, I feel a quiet assurance settle inside me. I already have what I truly need: your presence, your guidance, your promise. Everything else will find its way in due season, as it always has. Father, as gratitude for your provision softens my heart, my thoughts turn toward the people who fill my life, the voices that shape my days, the hearts that mirror mine in both joy and struggle. You have provided not only through resources, but through relationships. Companionship is one of the gentlest forms of your mercy, and yet it is also one of the hardest to maintain in truth and grace. I know that love, like faith, requires continual tending. So this morning I bring before you the web of connections that surround me: family, friends, colleagues, and those whose paths cross mine briefly, yet meaningfully. Bless them all. Restore what distance has broken. Heal what misunderstanding has bruised. Let every bond that bears your name become a place where peace dwells. Lord, relationships are sacred ground, but they are also fragile. I have spoken words that wounded, even when I meant well. I have withheld words that could have healed because pride silenced me. There are apologies still unspoken, gestures still delayed. You see them all, the moments that haunt me quietly in reflection. I ask for courage to make things right where I can, and for wisdom to release what cannot be repaired by my own strength. Reconciliation does not always mean returning to what was. Sometimes it means blessing from afar, setting down anger while keeping boundaries intact. Teach me to discern the difference. Let my heart remain open without becoming unguarded, generous without losing discernment, compassionate without erasing truth. God, bring peace into my home, the physical place where life begins and ends each day. Let walls hold more laughter than argument, more understanding than accusation. May my home not simply be a shelter from weather, but a refuge from weariness. Fill its air with kindness, its corners with forgiveness, its silence with safety. Teach me to listen before I speak, to pause before I judge, to remember that love often hides in small gestures, a soft tone, a warm glance, a willingness to stay. Let this home reflect heaven, not through perfection, but through grace in motion, through the way we forgive quickly. Speak honestly, and welcome one another despite our differences. Father, I also lift before you the friendships that have shaped me through the years. Some have endured distance and time. Others have faded like echoes after a storm. Each one left a mark, a lesson, a memory. Some taught me loyalty. Others taught me release. Thank you for those who have seen me at my worst and stayed, and for those who entered my life only for a season, but left seeds of wisdom that still grow. I ask you to strengthen the bonds that are meant to remain. Protect them from jealousy, misunderstanding, and neglect. Let my friends feel seen and valued, even when life scatters us in different directions. Help me be the kind of friend who listens more than lectures, who prays more than complains, who celebrates quietly when others are blessed. Lord, for the relationships that ache with distance, I ask for your gentle touch. Sometimes love remains, but closeness fades, and the silence between hearts becomes heavy. Step into that silence. Breathe reconciliation where words have failed. If pride has built walls, let humility open doors. If fear has kept us apart, let courage bridge the space. And where reunion is not possible, let peace take its place. I release resentment and welcome understanding. I release regret and invite redemption. Every connection, even the broken ones, can still serve your purpose when placed in your hands. God, teach me to value people over positions, relationships over results. The world often rewards independence, yet you bless interdependence, the holy truth that we were never meant to walk alone. Help me recognize that strength does not come from isolation, but from unity. Make me mindful of the lonely, the overlooked, the ones who smile but carry hidden emptiness. Let me become a vessel of comfort, offering presence without agenda, listening without hurry. Sometimes the ministry of companionship speaks louder than any sermon. Let me practice that ministry daily. Father, remind me that forgiveness and honesty are the twin pillars of lasting relationship. One without the other collapses under pressure. Help me to speak truth with gentleness and receive correction without defensiveness. Let love be strong enough to confront and soft enough to forgive. In moments of conflict, let me remember that winning an argument can sometimes mean losing connection. I would rather keep peace than pride. I would rather learn than prove. Love grows not by being right, but by being real. There are families torn by misunderstanding, siblings who no longer speak, parents and children who carry decades of quiet hurt. I place them all before you now. Only your love can untangle years of resentment and replace it with compassion. Send reconciliation like rain to soften what time has hardened. Let confessions find courage. Let hearts remember laughter. Let memories of tenderness outweigh those of pain. Family is the first community you created. Let your healing begin there. Lord, for those who walk alone, remind them and remind me that solitude is not abandonment. You are the constant companion, the friend who never withdraws, even in isolation. Connection can flourish through prayer, through kindness extended to strangers, through small acts of service that knit hearts unseen. Teach me to reach beyond comfort and welcome those who have no one calling their name. Let hospitality flow from my home like light through open windows, drawing warmth into the lives of those who need it most. As the morning deepens and the world begins to stir, I understand that relationship is the architecture of faith. It builds the framework where love becomes visible. You are the designer of connection, and I am both brick and builder in the house of belonging you are constructing. Let me honor that work today. May every interaction carry your tone, every conversation echo your patience, every silence hold your peace. And as I move among others, may they feel through my words and gestures that I have spent the morning here with you, learning again how to love. Lord, as my heart settles into the peace of restored relationships, my mind turns toward the day that stretches before me, the hours of labor, the tasks that await, the responsibilities that shape my rhythm. You have healed my body, calmed my spirit, and reconciled my heart to others. Now teach me how to carry this wholeness into what I do. Let my work today not be a separate part of life, but a continuation of prayer. Let the act of doing become a form of worship. Help me see the sacred hidden inside the ordinary, the holy pulse that runs through even the simplest duty. Father, you know the weight that sometimes comes with work, the pressure to perform, the endless striving for recognition, the quiet fear of not being enough. But you did not design labor to enslave the soul. You designed it to express creativity, to serve others, to cultivate beauty in a world that still bears your fingerprints. You invite me to bring my gifts not as offerings of exhaustion, but as instruments of purpose. Work was meant to be joy in motion, not a treadmill of fear. Teach me to approach each task with intention, to see it as an opportunity to reflect your excellence rather than to prove my worth. God, I confess that I often separate the sacred from the secular, as if only my prayers please you but not my projects. As if your presence stops at the church door or the quiet hour before dawn. But you are present in the office, the classroom, the workshop, the kitchen. You are as near to the desk as you are to the altar. Every spreadsheet, every conversation, every meeting, every decision can become a canvas for your grace when done with integrity and love. Help me remember that holiness is not found in the task itself, but in the heart behind it. Lord, bless the work of my hands today. But more than that, bless the spirit that guides them. Let diligence replace distraction. Let humility guide ambition. Let kindness soften competition. Keep me from the temptation to measure success by applause. You have not called me to impress, but to serve. When I am tempted to rush for results, remind me that excellence is born not from hurry, but from harmony with purpose. With patience, with peace. Let my work be steady, not frantic. Wholehearted, not half-hearted. Father, I offer to you every tool, every talent, every bit of knowledge I possess. They are not mine to boast of, they are borrowed light, meant to illuminate the world for a little while. Let me use them wisely. When I create, let it honor the Creator. When I solve problems, let it reveal your wisdom. When I speak, let my words carry grace, not pride. And when I fail, let the humility that follows become an offering more fragrant than success. Teach me that failure is not the end of calling. It is often the refining that makes calling clear. There will be moments today, Lord, when fatigue tries to dull enthusiasm, when routine feels endless, when gratitude feels small. In those moments, whisper again that I am working not for wages alone, but for witness. My attitude preaches louder than my words. The way I respond to frustration, the patience I show under pressure, the kindness I offer in the face of irritation, all of these become quiet sermons written not on paper, but in action. Let me represent you without needing to announce it. Let the peace that rests on me become visible through how I handle the invisible details. God, protect me from the subtle pride that disguises itself as purpose. I do not want to build kingdoms for myself while pretending to serve yours. Keep my motives transparent. When recognition comes, help me receive it without vanity and release it without bitterness. When obscurity follows, let me remember that unseen work is never unvalued by you. You see the hours no one applauds, the efforts no one notices, the sacrifices made in silence. In your eyes, faithfulness weighs more than fame. Lord, teach me also to rest without guilt. Work and rest are not enemies. They are partners in rhythm. Even you, after creation, paused and called it good. I want to learn that kind of contentment, the ability to pause, to breathe, to trust that what I have done is enough for now. Let rest remind me that provision does not depend solely on performance, that the world will keep spinning even when I stop. In the stillness of rest, restore the joy that makes work meaningful again. Father, I pray for those who labor beside me, coworkers, supervisors, teams, strangers whose efforts intersect mine in unseen ways. Bless their hands and their hearts. Let our collaboration be marked not by rivalry, but by respect. Where conflict arises, let me be a peacemaker. Where discouragement grows, let me be an encourager. Remind me that community exists even in labor, that every task is connected to the tapestry of others. Work, none of us builds alone. We are threads in your greater design. As I look toward the hours ahead, I ask you to make this day a field where meaning grows. Let each responsibility, no matter how small, bear fruit that nourishes others. Let me find wonder in the mundane, beauty in the repetition, and satisfaction not from completion alone, but from participation in something eternal. If I can end this day knowing that my labor reflected your love, that my words brought peace, that my presence carried hope, then the work has already become worship. And as the morning light deepens, I feel the weight of this truth. Work done with gratitude becomes prayer without words. Every motion becomes a rhythm of devotion. Every task, no matter how humble, becomes a sacred echo of creation itself. In that realization, I rise not to chase, not to compete, but to co-create with you. I step into the day not as a worker seeking validation, but as a worshiper seeking alignment. And knowing that in your presence, labor and love are the same song. Father, as I carry the spirit of worship into the rhythm of work, I begin to realize that the greatest challenge is not the task itself, but the stewardship of time, the invisible currency that every soul spends, yet never earns back. Yesterday's hours have already vanished into memory, and tomorrow's minutes are still sealed in mystery. Only this present moment is real, breathing, alive in my hands. Yet how easily I allow it to slip away, traded for distractions that promise relief but deliver emptiness. This morning, I bring you my time not as a schedule to control, but as an offering to surrender. Teach me to live intentionally, to fill my days with purpose rather than pressure. Lord, I confess how often I treat time as if it were mine alone, forgetting that it was gifted, not granted. I rush through moments as though speed proves importance. I multitask until my spirit fractures into fragments, mistaking movement for meaning. Yet you, who exist outside of time, are never hurried. You create in rhythm, not in chaos. You write seasons with patience, and each dawn obeys its order. Help me mirror that divine cadence. Slow me down until I can hear again the heartbeat of grace hidden in the quiet between tasks. Let my minutes reflect peace, not panic, focus, not frenzy. God, help me guard the gates of attention. For whatever claims it shapes the soul, the world is loud and constant, calling for pieces of me, screens that flicker, messages that demand reply, endless noise dressed as urgency. Yet you are found in stillness, not in the static. Give me the strength to say no to what scatters and yes to what centers. Teach me that focus is not narrowness, but devotion to the right thing, at the right time, for the right reason. Let my attention become prayer in motion, an act of worship through presence. Father, show me how to order my priorities with honesty. I often confuse what is urgent with what is important, chasing deadlines while neglecting the eternal. Help me to choose depth over breadth, to invest in what truly matters, love over image, relationships over recognition, meaning over mere productivity. I do not want a full calendar and an empty soul. I want a balanced life that breathes grace between moments, that honors both responsibility and rest. Give me wisdom to know what deserves my time and courage to release what does not. There are seasons, Lord, when time feels heavy, when hours stretch under burden, and waiting feels like waste. Yet even delay can be divine. You are not bound by my impatience. Sometimes you hide purpose within pause, teaching endurance where I only seek escape. Help me to trust your timing, to understand that what seems like waiting is often preparation. When doors do not open, remind me that you are strengthening the hands that will one day turn the key. Let me rest in that hidden work, knowing that time spent with you is never lost. God, help me to honor the small portions of time as much as the grand ones. A 5-minute conversation can change a life. A moment of silence can restore peace. A single act of kindness can outlive the one who offered it. Keep me aware that significance often hides inside the smallest seconds. Let me treat every encounter, every task, every pause as sacred territory. You walk within minutes as much as within miracles. Let that awareness transform how I move through the day. Father, teach me also to rest without guilt, to recognize that pauses are not breaks from purpose, but part of it. The earth itself follows this rhythm: sunrise and sunset, tide and retreat, growth and dormancy. I, too, am made in that pattern. When I resist rest, I resist design. So remind me that stillness is not indulgence but obedience. In rest, I am reminded that I am sustained by grace, not by grind. Let my nights renew my mornings. Let my Sabbaths remind me that enough is enough. Lord, help me redeem the fragments of wasted time, the moments lost to worry, to resentment, to distraction. Let them not be in vain. Use even them as soil for new wisdom. Show me how to learn from what has slipped away, not through guilt but through gratitude. Every lost hour can still teach the value of the one I hold now. Let regret become resolve, and resolve become rhythm, a rhythm shaped not by pressure, but by peace. God, give me a heart that measures time not by clocks, but by love. A day spent in kindness is never wasted. An hour shared in listening is never lost. Let love be the calendar that guides me. When I wake, let me ask not what I must accomplish, but who I can bless. When I rest, let me count not what I failed to finish, but what grace completed through me. Let my schedule bend around compassion, for in eternity, it is love alone that leaves a lasting mark. As morning grows into full light, I sense time moving differently, not as a tyrant to obey, but as a companion to walk beside. Each moment, once feared for its brevity, now feels wide with possibility. I see the day not as a list to conquer, but as a landscape to explore, where presence is the path and peace the destination. You, Father, are in every tick of the clock, every breath between tasks, every second that chooses meaning over hurry. So I offer you this day, not a collection of hours to spend, but a canvas of moments to paint with purpose, attention, and grace. And as I step into the rhythm of time, I do so not counting minutes, but making them holy. Lord, as I step forward from the calm awareness of timeless, sacred rhythm, I know that not every hour will be gentle. Some will stretch thin with weariness. Others will test the depth of my trust. There are days when faith feels easy, and there are days when it feels like lifting a mountain. Yet you remain constant through both. I bring to you, Father, the parts of my soul that tremble under the weight of the unknown, the questions that press against my chest, the fears that whisper that I am not strong enough. Let your steadiness become the ground beneath me when everything else shifts. Father, trials are not strangers to the journey of faith. They arrive without invitation, wearing faces I recognize. Disappointment, delay, loss, misunderstanding. Each one asks the same question: do I believe you are still good? In those moments, help me to remember that trust is not a feeling, but a decision made in darkness as much as in light. You never promised ease, but you did promise presence. Even the fiercest storm cannot drown a soul anchored in you. Teach me to stand not because the wind has stopped, but because your hand holds me upright. God, when adversity comes, I often ask, why? But today I ask differently. Instead of demanding explanations, Let me seek revelation. Let me see what pain uncovers, what patience builds, what perseverance strengthens. You do not waste suffering. It is the soil where endurance grows, the fire where character is refined, the night that prepares the eyes to recognize dawn. When I feel pressed beyond my limits, remind me that breaking points can become breakthrough points if I surrender rather than resist. Help me not to curse the process that is shaping me into something resilient and radiant. Lord, I remember moments when hardship made me doubt, when prayer felt unanswered and silence filled the space where I hoped for miracles. Yet looking back, I see how even silence was sacred. It taught me to listen differently, to lean not on words but on trust. You were never absent. You were building faith that does not depend on outcomes. Strength is not found in having control, but in yielding it. Let surrender not be weakness, but worship. Let obedience be the shape of courage. Father, there are burdens I still carry, unresolved worries, old griefs, new fears. Some I speak aloud, others I keep hidden where no one sees. You know them all. Meet me in the heaviness I cannot name. When strength falters, lend me yours. When hope flickers, breathe upon it until it burns steady again. Remind me that endurance is not the same as numbness. It is the quiet, steady heartbeat of faith that refuses to quit. It is not born of pride, but of partnership with you walking beside me through every shadowed valley. God, teach me the art of endurance, not through mere survival, but through grace. Let me endure with gentleness, not bitterness, with faith, not fatigue. Trials reveal what comfort conceals. They show whether my roots reach deep enough to draw strength from unseen wells. When discouragement rises like a tide, let your promises become the shoreline I stand on. Every trial is temporary, every lesson eternal. You are the author who never abandons the story halfway through. Even when I do not understand the chapter, I trust the writer. Lord, when others around me suffer, let my endurance become encouragement. Let me not speak from theory, but from testimony, from the quiet strength I have known in the middle of my own storms. Help me to comfort, not compare, to uplift, not instruct. Suffering shared becomes lighter, and faith shared becomes stronger. Let compassion flow from the wounds that have healed, not as pity, but as presence. Use even my scars to remind others that pain does not have the final word. Father, I ask not for a life without trials, but for faith that does not waver within them. Give me the wisdom to see pressure as purpose, not punishment. Let hardship produce holiness, not hardness. Teach me to look for you in the tension where fear meets faith, where weakness meets grace, where impossibility meets your intervention. The mountain that once seemed immovable becomes the place where endurance learns to climb. There are days when fatigue feels heavier than failure, when my heart whispers that it would be easier to stop believing. Remind me that faith is not about strength alone, it is about return. Every time I come back to you after doubt, every time I choose to hope again, that is victory. You are patient with my process. You do not measure me by perfection, but by persistence. as long as I keep reaching for you. Even trembling, I am still walking toward the light. And now, Lord, as morning grows into fullness and the world calls me into motion, I step forward not as one untouched by struggle, but as one strengthened by it. The same grace that carried me through yesterday's trial will carry me through today's unknown. My endurance is not my own. It is borrowed strength renewed with every sunrise. You turn weakness into witness, pain into purpose, and waiting into worship. I will not rush what you are refining. I will not despise what teaches me dependence. With each breath, I remember that faith is not proven in comfort, but revealed in perseverance. And even now, in this moment, I am still standing inside your strength. Father, as I breathe in the quiet that follows endurance, I sense a deeper need rising within me, not just to survive the journey, but to walk it wisely. Trials have strengthened my spirit, but choices will shape my path. Each day unfolds like a crossroad, full of possibilities that glimmer with both promise and peril. You, Lord, are the one who sees beyond every horizon, who understands what lies behind every option that dazzles my human sight. I come to you now not to demand answers, but to seek alignment. Teach me to make decisions not out of fear or haste, but out of trust and clarity. Lord, wisdom is not a gift of intellect alone. It is the language of the Spirit, whispered in moments of stillness. Too often, I rush ahead with assumptions, mistaking impulse for inspiration. I plan without pausing, move without listening, and wonder why confusion follows. But wisdom, as you teach it, begins in reverence, in acknowledging that I do not know enough, yet I am guided by one who does. Help me to love your guidance more than my preferences, to recognize that true discernment is not about controlling outcomes, but about aligning with your will, even when it defies logic. God, I ask you to teach me the quiet art of discernment. The world speaks in volume, urging me toward what is fast, popular, and loud, but your voice is gentle, steady, and sure. It does not compete. It invites. Tune my heart to its frequency. Let me feel the difference between peace and pressure, between your prompting and my impatience. When I sense uncertainty, remind me that confusion is not from you. You are not the author of chaos, but of calm conviction. Even in silence, you are speaking. Teach me to wait until your peace arrives like a signature on my heart, confirming the path I should take. Father, grant me wisdom not just in great matters, but in small choices, the words I speak, the tone I use, the way I treat others when no one is watching. Each small decision builds the architecture of my soul. Wisdom is not found only in great revelation, but in daily obedience. Let me practice it in humility before I apply it in leadership. Remind me that wisdom without love becomes arrogance, and discernment without compassion becomes judgment. I want to see through your eyes, not just what is right, but what is kind, not just what is correct, but what is redemptive. Lord, I confess there are moments when I have mistaken clarity for control. I want certainty before I move, but you often guide through motion, not maps, like the pillar of cloud and fire that led your people. You reveal only the next step, not the whole road. Teach me to be faithful with the light I have, trusting that the rest will appear when needed. Let courage accompany wisdom, for knowledge without action turns stagnant. And when mistakes happen, as they surely will, let humility turn them into lessons instead of shame. Every misstep can still lead forward if it is followed by repentance and reflection. God, in a world where choices multiply faster than peace can catch up, give me the grace to simplify. Help me to distinguish between what is urgent and what is essential, between what glitters and what is truly gold. I do not want to chase every opportunity. I want to recognize the ones that carry your breath. Guard me from the hunger for approval that masquerades as ambition. Let me choose not what looks impressive, but what feels right in the quiet of my soul. Let my decisions be guided by purpose, not pressure by calling, not comparison. Father, remind me that wisdom grows best in community. I am not meant to discern alone. Surround me with people who speak truth with gentleness, who challenge my blind spots without tearing down my confidence. Let me listen with humility when correction comes, knowing that advice from the wise is not an insult, but an investment. And when others seek guidance from me, help me respond not from ego, but from empathy, offering light without pretending to be the source of it. You are the ultimate counselor. Let every conversation point back to you. Lord, I know that true wisdom often demands sacrifice. It means saying no to comfort when character is at stake. It means choosing integrity when compromise seems easier. It means waiting when impatience burns like fire. Grant me the strength to choose what is right over what is quick, what is eternal over what is convenient. The wise path is not always smooth, but it always leads to peace. When I cannot see the outcome, remind me that obedience is its own reward. Your approval outweighs applause, and peace of conscience is a better crown than recognition. God, let my decisions today become seeds of tomorrow's testimony. May each choice reflect trust, not anxiety, faith, not fear, whether I am deciding how to speak, where to go, or when to pause. Let my actions carry the fragrance of discernment. When I move, let it be with confidence that I am walking beside you, not ahead of you. When I hesitate, let it be out of reverence, not reluctance. Every decision made in your presence becomes an act of worship. Every act of obedience a declaration of faith. And as the morning light strengthens around me, I realize that wisdom is not a destination, but a dialogue, a continual conversation between the human heart and divine truth. I do not need to know everything to walk in peace. I need only to know that you are near. So I rise into this new day, not with certainty about every step, but with serenity about who leads me. The path may twist, the signs may fade, but the shepherd never leaves his own. In that assurance, I walk forward steady, listening, discerning, and free. Father, as I rise from the place of decision and step into the world that listens and speaks all at once, I am reminded that wisdom does not live only in thought, but also in the words that leave my lips. Every sentence is a seed, every tone a tide. With them, I can build or break, heal or harm. You, Lord, spoke creation into being with a word, and in that mystery, you entrusted humanity with the same sacred tool, the power of speech. I bring that gift before you this morning, asking you to teach me how to use it with purity and purpose. Lord, my words often run ahead of my heart. I speak quickly, forgetting that silence can be stronger than sound. I try to fill the air because stillness feels uncomfortable. Yet I know that noise without love becomes emptiness. Help me to speak less but mean more. Let my mouth become a vessel of life, not a weapon of reaction. Guard me against gossip disguised as concern, against criticism pretending to be honesty, against sarcasm that wounds under the veil of wit. Make my tongue a fountain of kindness, not a spark for anger. God, remind me that words are never neutral. They carry weight whether whispered in secret or shouted in public. A single phrase can stay with a person for years, either lifting them when they falter or haunting them when they try to heal. Help me to remember that responsibility before I speak. Let my communication reflect compassion even when I must speak truth. Let truth, when spoken, come dressed in humility, not pride. May every sentence I form carry the fragrance of your love. Father, I ask for the discipline to pause before responding, to let grace enter the gap between emotion and expression. When I feel misunderstood, teach me to answer with patience instead of defense. When anger tempts me to strike back, remind me that restraint is not weakness, but wisdom. A gentle word can disarm hostility faster than argument. You, who stilled the storm with a phrase, can calm tempests within me too. Speak through me when silence is not enough, and silence me when words would only wound. Lord, in a world drowning in voices, help mine to sound different, not louder, but clearer, kinder, truer. Let my speech be anchored in integrity, so that my yes means yes and my no means no. Let honesty never become harshness, and encouragement never become flattery. Teach me the sacred balance of communication, to comfort without enabling, to correct without condemning, to express conviction without losing compassion. If I cannot add light to the conversation, help me be brave enough to hold peace instead. God, help me also to listen, to truly hear the hearts behind the words others speak. Listening is another language of love, one the world has almost forgotten. Teach me to listen, not just to reply, but to understand. When someone confides their pain, let me receive it without judgment. When someone celebrates, let me join them without envy. When someone speaks harshly, let me hear the fear or hurt behind their tone, instead of reacting to their sharpness. Grant me ears that discern emotion beneath expression, and patience that makes room for others to feel safe. Father, cleanse the inner well from which my words flow. If bitterness remains, purify it. If pride lingers, humble it. For speech begins long before the lips move, it begins in the heart. Let my inner dialogue mirror your truth, so that what spills outward carries grace. If my thoughts dwell on resentment, remind me to forgive before I speak. If they dwell on complaint, shift them toward gratitude. Words born from peace will always create peace. Lord, I think of the countless conversations that make up a single day, the greetings, the messages, the passing remarks. Each one is an opportunity to plant encouragement or spread exhaustion. Let my words become small acts of restoration in the lives I touch. A sincere compliment, a gentle reminder, a patient answer. These are tiny miracles waiting to happen through speech. Let me never underestimate their power. God, I lift up the times when I have spoken carelessly and hurt others without meaning to. Bring to mind those moments not to shame me, but to guide me toward healing. Give me courage to apologize where I must, and humility to accept correction when I have spoken wrongly. Redeem my past words by helping me speak redemption into my present ones. Transform my voice into an instrument of peace that mends what it once fractured. As the morning continues to unfold, I feel the weight and wonder of this truth. Every word has eternity hidden within it. They ripple beyond the moment, shaping the unseen world of hearts and memories. You, Father, entrusted this creative force to fragile human mouths, believing we could learn to use it like you do to bless, to build, to breathe life. So today, let me speak slowly, listen deeply, and live wisely, remembering that my voice is not mine alone, it is borrowed breath, returning praise to the one who first spoke light into existence. Father, as my lips learn to speak life, I realize that every word begins as a whisper of thought, and every thought is shaped by the posture of the heart. What fills me within will eventually flow outward. So this morning, I bring not only my speech, but my inner world before you, the landscape of my emotions, my reflections, my unspoken anxieties, and quiet hopes. The heart and mind are like two rivers that meet and shape the course of the soul. Let them merge in peace under your direction, not in confusion under fear. Lord, you see what no one else can see. You walk the corridors of my thoughts before they become sentences. You hear the silent conversations that play out in my mind. There are moments when those thoughts grow restless, spinning webs of worry and imagination, making enemies out of shadows. In those moments, draw near, quiet the storm inside. Let truth replace speculation, and trust silence the noise of doubt. You remind me that every anxious thought is an invitation not to control more, but to surrender deeper. God, the world often trains my mind to focus on what is lacking instead of what is present. It tempts me to dwell on fear, comparison, and endless analysis. But you call me into renewal. A transformation begins not by trying harder, but by thinking higher. Align my mind with heaven's perspective. When cynicism creeps in, replace it with wonder. When bitterness rises, drown it in gratitude. Let my thoughts become seeds of peace that blossom into joy. I want my inner life to reflect the same beauty I seek to speak aloud. Father, ask you to help me guard the heart you have given me, not with walls of suspicion, but with gates of discernment. The heart was not made to harden. It was made to host, but I have let too many unkind memories live there rent-free, replaying moments that should have been released. Teach me to forgive quickly, to release deeply, to protect gently. A guarded heart is not a closed one, it is a heart that knows its worth. Remind me that what I allow to dwell within will decide whether peace stays or flees. Lord, help me to recognize what steals peace before it takes root, Sometimes it comes disguised as ambition, other times as endless distraction. Let me notice the subtle ways my spirit drifts when I seek validation more than connection, when I pursue clarity more than closeness with you. The mind is a battlefield, but it does not have to be a prison. I choose to take every thought captive, not through force, but through focus, fixing my gaze on truth rather than turmoil. You are not the author of confusion, but of calm conviction. God, I want to think like you think, to see not only what is visible, but what is possible. You look at people and see potential. I often look and see flaws. You look at hardship and see growth. I often see threat. Renew the eyes of my mind until I can interpret life through the lens of grace. Let empathy guide my understanding and faith filter my perception. When I look at the world, may I see opportunities to love instead of reasons to withdraw. Let my imagination become a sanctuary, not a place of worry but of worship. Father, when negativity tries to flood my heart, remind me that gratitude is the gate that keeps despair out. When frustration tries to root itself, remind me that gentleness is stronger than control. Teach me to return to peace again and again, like a traveler returning home after each long journey. Even when I am weary or distracted, draw me back to that still center within, where you whisper truth that is louder than any lie. In that space, I am safe, unshaken, fully known. Lord, I also bring to you the weight of information that fills my days. The world floods the mind with voices, each one demanding reaction, judgment, or outrage. But not everything deserves my attention, and not every battle is mine to fight. Teach me to filter wisely what I consume. Let me be informed without being inflamed, aware without becoming afraid. Give me the courage to unplug when needed, to let silence heal what noise has frayed. Let discernment guide my curiosity, so that what enters my mind feeds my soul, not depletes it. God, when emotions rise too strong for reason, let love rule them gently. My heart is not wrong for feeling deeply, it was designed to, but let those feelings be guided by your truth, not by impulse. When I am tempted to shut down, soften me. When I am tempted to overflow in anger, steady me. Make my emotions reflect your nature. Compassionate, but controlled, tender, yet anchored. You are not calling me to suppress my heart, but to steward it. Help me to feel without being consumed, to think without being trapped, to live with balance between passion and peace. And now, as sunlight spills across the morning sky, I realize that guarding the heart and mind is not an act of fear, but of faith. It is trusting that peace is worth protecting, that purity of thought is worth the patience it takes to maintain. The same God who holds galaxies in motion also holds my thoughts in his care. So today, I choose awareness over anxiety, forgiveness over fixation, reflection over reaction. My heart will not be a battlefield, it will be a sanctuary. My mind will not be a maze, it will be a meeting place, where truth and tenderness dwell together. And in that still, sacred union between heart and thought, I find you steady, near, and endlessly kind. Lord, as my heart learns to rest in peace, and my mind grows steady in your truth. I feel another lesson rising quietly, one that carries both beauty and H. It is the call to humility, the art of surrender. Every step of this journey, from faith to wisdom, has taught me something about strength. But now you show me that true strength does not always stand tall. Sometimes it kneels. To yield is not to lose, it is to trust the hands that hold the outcome. This morning, I bring before you the parts of me still clinging to control, still trying to earn what was meant to be received. Teach me, Father, the freedom that hides in surrender. Father, I admit that pride wears many disguises. Sometimes it dresses as independence, sometimes as resilience, and often as fear of appearing weak. I have tried to carry burdens meant to be shared, to fix things that only you can redeem. In my striving, I have mistaken self-reliance for faith, yet you do not ask me to prove my worth, only to place my weight in your care. Teach me the holy posture of dependence, the quiet courage of admitting I cannot do it alone. Let humility not be humiliation, but alignment with truth, with love, with you, God. Humility is not about thinking less of myself, but about thinking of myself less. It is about seeing others clearly, without comparison or competition. When I meet people who walk in greater wisdom, let admiration replace envy. When I see others stumble, let compassion take the place of judgment. Help me remember that every person I meet carries their own unseen battle. No heart is free from struggle. No story is without redemption. Humility listens before it labels and serves before it speaks. Let me live that way today with quiet strength that does not need applause to feel secure. Lord, teach me to find joy in being hidden. The world celebrates visibility, but you celebrate faithfulness. In a culture that shouts for recognition, help me find peace in being unseen but known by you. Let my work be its own reward, my kindness its own testimony. I do not need to be noticed to be valuable. When I choose patience over pride, forgiveness over retaliation, and gentleness over proving a point, heaven notices even if no one else does. Let that be enough. Father, surrender is the soil where humility grows. It begins not with defeat, but with decision to trust what I cannot yet understand. I have learned that surrender is not a single act, but a daily rhythm. Releasing what weighs me down, confessing what hardens my heart, and resting in what I cannot control. Every morning is another chance to open my hands again. Take what I cling to out of fear and return it as freedom. Take what I hold with anxiety and transform it into assurance. I surrender not because I give up, because I want to live differently, lightly, freely, fully. God, when I fear losing control, remind me that I was never meant to be the master of outcomes. You are not asking me to stop caring, but to stop carrying what crushes. There is a difference between responsibility and ownership. I can do my part with diligence, but the result belongs to you. Let humility steady me in the waiting, and surrender sustain me in uncertainty. When doors close, remind me that you still lead. When plans fail, remind me that you are still faithful. Every detour becomes direction when you are the guide. Lord, help me to see humility not as weakness, but as wisdom. It is the strength to bow when the ego wants to rise, to forgive when pride wants revenge, to listen when certainty wants the last word. Humility does not erase identity, it purifies it. It makes room for grace to move unhindered. The proud heart clenches, but the humble heart breathes. Soften me wherever I have hardened. Make me pliable in your hands, moldable in your purpose. Let me be small enough for you to fill completely. Father, I also pray for humility and success. It is easy to seek you in failure, but harder when things go well, when blessings multiply. Keep me grounded. When recognition comes, let gratitude drown out vanity. Let me remember that every ability, every opportunity, every breath is borrowed. I am not the source. I am the steward. Teach me to celebrate victories without forgetting the one who made them possible. Gratitude keeps success holy. God, surrender also means releasing my need to understand why. I do not always see how your hand works through disappointment or delay, but I trust that nothing is wasted. Even unanswered prayers are part of your answer. You are shaping me, sometimes through silence, sometimes through surprise. Help me to stop wrestling with what is unclear and start resting in what is unchanging your character. If all I have today is faith enough to say you are good, then that is enough to carry me forward. And now, Lord, as dawn settles into full light, I stand still, not to grasp, not to strive, but simply to receive. I feel the strength that comes from surrender, the peace that flows from humility. The world may call it weakness, but you call it wisdom, for in yielding, I gain freedom. In releasing, I am renewed, and in lowering myself before you, I am lifted into the quiet joy of belonging, completely held, guided, and loved beyond measure. Father, from the stillness of surrender flows the pulse of compassion. When the heart bends low in humility, it learns to lift others. The moment I release the weight of self, I begin to see beyond my own horizon to faces, needs, and stories that call quietly for kindness. You remind me that love is never complete when kept within. It fulfills its purpose only when given away. So I come before you today asking for eyes that see suffering clearly, hands that move toward it, and a heart soft enough to be moved again and again without growing numb. Lord, you have never measured greatness by status, but by service. The one who holds galaxies in his hands also washed dusty feet. In that act, you rewrote the definition of power, not domination, but devotion. Teach me to carry that same spirit into every interaction. Let me notice the overlooked, speak to the unseen, and serve the unthanked. When I give, let it not be from guilt or obligation, but from overflow, a heart so filled with grace that generosity becomes natural, not forced. God, compassion is not always comfortable. It demands presence when escape would be easier. It asks for empathy when judgment comes more quickly. It calls me to stay in the pain of others long enough to understand it. Yet this is where your likeness is revealed, when I choose mercy over convenience and presence over pity. Help me to love with depth, not performance, with endurance, not excitement. The world does not need louder words, it needs quieter kindness. Let my compassion be steady, not seasonal, Father, remind me that service is not confined to grand gestures or faraway missions. It is hidden in the small things, a patient reply, a helping hand, an unspoken prayer. It is in the way I listen when someone simply needs to be heard, or in how I forgive without demanding apology. You measure acts of love not by scale but by sincerity. Let my every interaction become an offering, each smile a reflection of hope, each kindness a ripple that reaches farther than I can see. Lord, keep me from the pride that sometimes disguises itself as charity, the desire to fix rather than to stand beside, to be admired rather than available. True compassion does not make others feel small. It lifts them to remember their dignity. When I help, let me do so quietly, respecting the sacredness of their story. Let me never mistake pity for love, or rescue for relationship. Teach me to empower, not control, to accompany, not direct. The goal of compassion is not applause, but restoration. God, give me the courage to serve even when it costs me something: time, comfort, convenience, or recognition. Love that costs nothing changes nothing. But when I pour from the place of sacrifice, I find you there filling what I emptied, strengthening what I spent. Every act of compassion becomes an altar, and every moment of service becomes a form of worship. Let me see interruptions as invitations and needs as opportunities for grace to flow through me rather than stop with me. Father, open my eyes to suffering I overlook, because it does not look like mine. Pain wears many disguises: anger, silence, success. Some people are starving for food, others for kindness. Let my spirit stay alert to the quiet cries behind polite smiles. Let empathy stretch wider than familiarity. Even when I cannot fix what is broken, let me offer presence, the simple ministry of staying near, of refusing to look away. You do not call me to solve every problem, but to show every person that they are seen. Lord, let compassion also reach the people I find hardest to love, the ones who hurt, who misunderstand, who mirror my own flaws back at me. Remind me that grace extended to the undeserving is the truest reflection of yours. Compassion without boundaries becomes redemption in motion. When I love without expecting return, I touch eternity in small ways. Let forgiveness become an act of service to an unseen labor that sets two hearts free instead of one. God, keep me balanced between compassion for others and care for myself. Even you withdrew to solitary places to pray, showing that service without solitude leads to burnout. Teach me to refill before I pour, to rest before I run. Compassion that flows from exhaustion becomes resentment, but compassion that flows from communion becomes renewal. Anchor my giving in your presence so it never drains but multiplies. As the day expands into its full rhythm, I carry this truth with me. Compassion is not a task but a posture. Service is not a duty but a rhythm of love made visible. To serve is to breathe the heart of heaven into the dust of earth, to let divine kindness wear human hands. Every act of love, no matter how small, stitches the torn edges of the world a little closer together. And so I step into the day, ready to listen, to lift, to give, not for reward or recognition, but because I am yours and to love like you is the most sacred calling of all. Father, after walking through the quiet fields of humility and the sacred rhythm of serving others, I feel my heart naturally rising toward gratitude. The more I give, the more I see how much I have already been given. Gratitude is not just an emotion. It is awareness, a clear vision that sees the extraordinary hidden within the ordinary. You have painted this morning in hues of gold and breath, and yet so often I rush past the masterpiece. Today, I want to pause long enough to see it, to let thankfulness settle deep into my bones until it becomes my way of breathing. Lord, thank you for the simplest mercies, the breath that moves in and out without command, the light that spills across the horizon, the beating of my heart that quietly sustains me through each unseen moment. These small, steady miracles are the architecture of existence, and I want to notice them again. Gratitude opens my eyes wider than anxiety ever could. It shifts my focus from what is missing to what has never stopped being present. I realize that joy does not wait for perfection. It grows from recognition. God. Sometimes gratitude feels harder to find, especially in seasons of loss or uncertainty. The heart searches for reasons when life feels unfair. But even there, hidden among the ashes, gratitude whispers softly. It does not deny the pain, it redeems it. It teaches me to thank you not only for what is given, but also for what is withheld, for the unanswered prayers that protected me, and for the closed doors that redirected me. Gratitude turns history into healing. It reclaims even sorrow as soil for new faith. Let me live with that perspective, seeing blessing even in the breaking. Father, I confess that I often take grace for granted. The constant kindness that flows through my days has become so familiar that I forget its wonder. The people who love me, the strength that wakes with me each morning, the peace that returns after chaos, all of these are gifts that no one owes me. Teach me to treat them with reverence, not routine. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you. It is about living like I mean it, honoring what I have been given by using it to bless others, to create beauty, to lift someone else. Lord, help me to see the world again with childlike wonder, the way sunlight filters through leaves, the sound of laughter echoing down a hallway, the scent of rain touching dry earth. Each of these is a reminder that you are still creating, still speaking, still near. Wonder is worship without words. It brings my soul into alignment with awe, reminding me that existence itself is evidence of your goodness. Let no sunrise feel ordinary, and no breath go unnoticed. Let wonder guard my heart from cynicism, and curiosity protect it from despair. God, gratitude transforms the way I see people too. It helps me focus less on what they lack and more on the light they carry. Every person I meet today is a reflection of some facet of your image. Let me be quick to appreciate, slow to criticize, eager to encourage. Gratitude makes generosity easier, because it reminds me there is enough in love, enough grace, enough time. In a world obsessed with scarcity, help me live as one who knows abundance. Father, gratitude also invites contentment, teaches me that joy is not found in having everything, but in realizing I already have enough. the restless pursuit for more quiets, when the soul finally whispers, "This is good." Yet contentment does not mean complacency. It means peace in motion, purpose without panic. I can still grow, dream, and strive, but I do so without the fear of lack, because gratitude anchors me in sufficiency. In your presence, there is no shortage of goodness, only the endless invitation to see it. Lord, when complaints rise easily, let thanksgiving rise first. When the day feels heavy, remind me that even weight is proof of life. Help me turn every irritation into a reminder that I can choose my response. Gratitude does not erase difficulty, but it changes its shape. It allows me to carry challenges with grace instead of resentment. Thankfulness turns burdens into blessings waiting to be recognized. And even pain becomes the teacher of appreciation. God, may gratitude become the rhythm of my prayer, the silent language that continues when words fade. Let my gratitude be honest, not selective. Let it flow not only in moments of comfort, but also in those of confusion. Thankfulness is trust spoken out loud. It is faith acknowledging evidence before the miracle fully appears. When I say thank you, I am really saying I trust you. That truth gives peace a home in my heart. As the sun climbs higher, spreading light across the waking world, I feel gratitude expanding within me like breath after release. It stretches beyond words and into awareness. Every sound, every face, every heartbeat becomes part of the symphony of grace that sings quietly through creation. Father, let me walk through this day as one who sees, who notices, who marvels. Let my gratitude become my worship and my wonder become my witness, until my whole life becomes a single, unending thank you. Father, as gratitude deepens and wonder fills my heart, I feel your peace settling like dawn after a long night. Gratitude opens the door, but peace walks in and makes its home. It is not the peace that depends on silence or the absence of conflict, but the peace that breathes in the middle of noise and remains unshaken. It is the calm born from knowing that you are constant, even when everything else changes. This morning, I ask you to teach me again how to live from that still center to rest. Not because all things are settled, but because my soul is secure in you. Lord, peace is not something I chase anymore. It is something I choose. The world offers imitation moments of escape, distractions dressed as comfort, but real peace is not fragile like that. It does not come from control or avoidance. It grows from surrender, from the quiet confidence that no storm can reach the depth where you dwell within me. Help me return to that inner sanctuary again and again throughout the day. When worry rises, let remembrance answer it. When anxiety whispers, let faith speak louder. Let my first reaction be stillness, not struggle. God, I have learned that peace is not the reward of perfection, but the fruit of trust. It does not wait for everything to align. It appears when I release the need to arrange everything myself. You invite me to rest even in unfinished seasons, to lie down in green pastures while the journey is still long ahead. Teach me that rest is not laziness, but obedience. When I pause, I am saying that I believe you are enough, that the world will keep turning even when I stop striving. You are the keeper of time, and peace grows best in the soil of faith. Father, help me to protect my peace as carefully as I protect my health. I often let the words of others, the weight of news, or the pull of comparison disturb the still waters within. Yet you remind me that peace is both a gift and a responsibility. It must be tended like a flame. I cannot control the wind around me, but I can shield what burns inside. Guard my thoughts when they wander toward fear. Guard my heart when it drifts toward resentment. Let peace rule where chaos seeks entrance. And let my calm become a testimony louder than reaction. Lord, stillness does not mean silence. It means presence. It is not the absence of movement, but the awareness of purpose. Even when life demands action, the soul can stay anchored. Show me how to move from rest, not restlessness, to act without anxiety, to speak without strain, to work without worry. Let every step I take today flow from a quiet heart. When tasks multiply, let me move with grace, not haste. When others panic, let me carry peace like an atmosphere, spreading calm without needing to explain it. God, teach me to listen for you in the quiet places. Your voice is rarely found in thunder or spectacle, but in the gentle whisper that comes when I stop trying to hear and simply begin to be. In stillness, I realize how near you are. I do not have to chase what is already within. The peace of your presence is constant, waiting only for awareness to awaken it. Let that awareness be my morning rhythm, slow, steady, sacred. In that silence, I find not emptiness but encounter. Father, there are moments when peace feels distant, when anxiety feels louder than faith. In those times, remind me that peace is not a feeling but a person. You yourself are peace, not just the giver of it. When my emotions sway, my spirit can still stand firm because it rests in you. Even when my thoughts rush ahead, your hand remains steady on the wheel. I do not need to feel peace to have it. I need only to remember who holds me. That remembrance is enough to calm the waves inside. Lord, I also ask for peace that extends beyond me, peace that touches the people I encounter, peace that lingers in every space I enter. Let my demeanor reflect serenity that does not come from personality, but from presence. When I speak, let my tone carry rest. When I listen, let my patience create safety. Make me a vessel of quiet, healing in a world addicted to noise. Let my peace invite others to remember theirs. God, there will always be reasons to worry, but there will always be greater reasons to trust. Life may shake, but you do not. Teach me to dwell in the even though storms rise, even though uncertainty looms, even though tomorrow is unclear still. You are faithful, and that is enough. Peace is not found in what I can predict, but in who you have proven to be. Every sunrise testifies to that faithfulness. Every heartbeat echoes its rhythm. And now, as the morning stands fully awake, I rest in the stillness you have formed within me. The noise of the world continues, but it no longer owns me. I walk into this day as one who carries calm in every step. Peace is not what I seek anymore. It is what I carry. It lives where gratitude began, where surrender deepened, where trust grew roots. It is the quiet assurance that no matter what unfolds, you remain near, and that nearness is enough to steady the soul, to soften the day, and to fill the heart with light that cannot be shaken. Father, as peace wraps itself gently around my soul, I feel a quiet stirring within the desire not only to rest, but to rise again with renewed strength. Stillness is not the end of the journey. It is the place where power begins. From peace, faith is reborn, fresh and fearless, ready to face what lies ahead. You remind me that faith is not a possession to hold, but a flame to tend. It flickers. It bends. It grows stronger in the wind. I bring to you my faith today, tired in some places, vibrant in others, asking you to breathe on it once more, to renew it with life that cannot be extinguished. Lord, faith is both simple and demanding. It asks for trust without proof, obedience without full understanding, perseverance without visible progress. Yet every time I choose it, even when I do not feel it, something within me expands. Faith does not remove uncertainty, it redefines it. It teaches me to step forward without seeing the road, believing that every unseen path is already known by you. When I walk by faith, I am not walking into darkness, I am walking into your promise. Help me to remember that truth when the way ahead feels hidden. God, I confess there are moments when my faith feels fragile, like a thin thread stretched by the weight of waiting. I have prayed and not yet seen answers, hoped and faced disappointment, believed and still felt afraid. But you remind me that faith is not measured by the absence of doubt, but by the persistence to believe despite it. Even mustard seed faith moves mountains, not because of its size, but because of the one who honors it. So take my faith as it is today, imperfect, small, yet sincere, and use it to do what only you can. Strengthen my belief until it becomes endurance, and endurance until it becomes joy. Father, renew my spiritual strength from the inside out. The soul grows weary not only from labor, but from the weight of invisible battles, the unseen discouragements, the quiet disappointments, the questions that linger without answers. Meet me there, in those inner places where even words cannot reach. Pour courage into what has grown faint. Pour clarity into what has grown clouded. I do not ask for a life without trials, but for a heart that cannot be shaken by them. Let my strength not depend on mood or circumstance, but on the unchanging truth of your presence. Lord, faith and strength grow together in the soil of surrender. When I stop fighting to control every outcome, peace has room to breathe, and faith has space to grow. Teach me to trust the unseen work you're doing, even when progress feels invisible. When days stretch long and nights fall heavy, let endurance rise within me like dawn. Faith that survives waiting becomes unbreakable. It is no longer fragile hope, it becomes conviction, and conviction changes everything. God, remind me of all the ways you have already proven faithful. The prayers you have answered, the storms you have calmed, the moments when help arrived just in time. Gratitude is the memory of faith, and remembering renews strength. You have carried me farther than I realized, taught me more than I understood, and rescued me from more than I ever saw. Every scar bears silent testimony that I have survived what once seemed impossible. Let that remembrance give me courage for what still lies ahead. Father, help me to protect my faith from the subtle erosion of fear. Fear whispers that I am alone. Faith declares that I am not. Fear counts limitations. Faith counts promises. Fear looks at the storm. Faith looks at the one who walks upon it. When fear rises like a shadow, let me answer with light. Let my thoughts rehearse truth instead of worry. Let my words echo hope instead of complaint. The world does not need louder anxiety, it needs quieter assurance. Make my confidence contagious, my peace persuasive, my belief unwavering. Lord, sometimes strength is not found in the doing, but in the staying and standing firm when everything says to give up, in holding faith steady when emotions falter. Teach me that persistence is worship too, to endure without bitterness, to hope without evidence, to love without return. These are the hidden victories of the soul. They may not draw applause, but they draw heaven's gaze. You delight not in perfection, but in perseverance. And that truth gives me freedom to keep walking, even limping, toward you, God. Renew the vision of my spirit. Let me not grow accustomed to miracles or numb to grace. Help me to expect goodness again, not because life guarantees it, but because you remain who you are. Let hope become my daily posture, faith my steady rhythm, and strength my quiet anthem. Even when I cannot see the future, let me live as one who believes it holds redemption. You waste nothing, not pain, not waiting, not even silence. Everything becomes seed in the hands of faith. As morning light floods the sky once more, I feel that steady current of renewal flowing through me. Faith no longer feels like something I must build. It feels like something I rest in. It rises not from striving, but from surrender. Not from emotion, but from encounter. I step into this day not carrying my faith as a burden, but wearing it as breath, as the invisible strength that moves quietly beneath everything I do. And in that peace, in that strength, in that steadfast trust, I know I am ready for whatever comes next. For you, Father, are already there. Father, as faith renews its quiet strength within me, I come to this final moment of prayer not as an ending, but as a continuation, a gentle turning of the heart toward what is next. Each morning of this journey has been a step through shadow and sunlight, through surrender and song. I began with trembling, and now I find myself standing still in wonder. Not everything has changed around me, but everything within me has shifted. The fears that once spoke loudly now whisper faintly beneath the sound of peace. The waiting that once felt endless now feels like invitation. And through it all, you have remained constant, my anchor, my breath, my dawn. Lord, hope feels different now. It is no longer something distant on the horizon, but something alive within the soul. It breathes quietly, steady and sure, in every prayer whispered into the unknown. Hope is the thread that ties every chapter together, the unseen line that carries faith through seasons of doubt and days of delight. It is not naive, it is resilient. It does not deny pain, but walks through it with light in hand. I have learned that hope does not remove storms. It teaches me how to stand in them without losing sight of the sunrise that always follows. God, I thank you for the quiet transformations that have taken place along this path. There were mornings when I came weary, and you met me with strength I did not expect. There were nights when silence stretched long, Yet somehow your presence filled the space between breaths. Every word spoken, every pause taken, every tear that fell has become part of this prayer's music. You have woven my weakness into wisdom, my sorrow into softness, my doubt into depth. What began as a plea has become communion. What began in search of healing has become an awakening. Father, I no longer see prayer as a request, it has become relationship. It is not a transaction, but a conversation that continues without words, a rhythm between heart and heaven. Even when I am silent, you are still speaking. Even when I forget to look up, grace finds me anyway. I have learned that you are not only found in the sacred places, but in the simple ones, in the sound of laughter, in the warmth of sunlight through glass, in the quiet act of forgiveness. You are in every breath, every kindness, every sunrise. Life itself is the echo of your mercy. Lord, let this prayer continue in the lives of those who have listened to these words with open hearts. Let it ripple into their mornings and linger through their nights. Let weary souls find rest again. Let those who have doubted feel the spark of faith return, like a candle reigniting in windless air. Let every listener know that they are not forgotten, not alone, not unseen. The same light that carried me carries them too. And no matter how dark the valley or how long the night, morning always comes, hope always returns, grace never stops flowing. God, I lift every person who has walked this journey beside me, the ones who have whispered along with these words, who have opened their hearts in stillness and trust. Bless them in ways they do not yet imagine. Let healing reach them in quiet and powerful ways. Let their homes be filled with peace that cannot be shaken, their paths lined with purpose that cannot be stolen. Remind them that faith is not a feeling to chase, but a presence to carry. It lives in them, breathes through them, and will guide them through whatever comes next. Father, I thank you for this sacred companionship for the listener who has traveled this far, for the unseen bond that has formed through prayer and reflection. Each soul that has listened has become part of something larger, a tapestry of voices lifted in faith across distance and time. Together we have walked through sorrow and strength, through forgiveness and renewal, through silence and song. And now, as the last words settle like leaves on water, I pray that this peace remains, not as an ending, but as a beginning, a quiet awakening to the divine presence already here. Lord, remind us that every morning is another chapter, every breath another chance to begin again. Life will still bring questions, storms, and waiting, but it will also bring sunlight, laughter, and love. Hope will keep rising, not as a distant dream, but as the living pulse of faith that beats in every grateful heart. We are all part of that rhythm now, one heartbeat, one prayer, one dawn at a time. To everyone who has journeyed through this prayer, thank you for listening, for breathing deeply, for allowing your spirit to be still. You have not merely heard words. You have walked through a sacred unfolding of grace. May these moments return to you when you need them most, when the night feels long, when faith feels small, when silence feels heavy. Remember that peace is closer than breath, that love is still the language heaven speaks. If this prayer has touched your spirit, I invite you to share your thoughts and your own prayers below. Let your story become part of this ongoing conversation of faith. Subscribe to this channel to continue walking this path together one morning, one whisper, one renewal at a time. Share this light with those who need it, and let the circle of faith grow wider with every heart that listens. Keep returning to this place of stillness. Keep choosing gratitude. Keep believing in grace. And now, as the morning sky opens once more, the world fills with a quiet radiance, the kind that does not shout but simply glows. The first breeze moves through the trees, carrying the scent of new beginnings. Light spreads gently across the earth like a promise fulfilled, touching everything it meets. And in that glow, I feel it again, the whisper of hope, alive, eternal, rising with the dawn.